In one of our recent videos, we broke down why the Elias Pettersson to Pittsburgh rumors were starting to heat up. But today, we're taking it a step further. If the Canucks actually pull the trigger on this trade, what does the return look like? From mandatory cap dumps to the blue chip prospects Pittsburgh has to include, we're diving into the Pittsburgh package. There is one specific player that could be a total deal breaker. Let's break down the cost. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. We're going to check out an article from our friends over at Canucks Army that talks about this. And as you can see by the title, what would an Elias Pettersson to Pittsburgh trade actually look like? This article written by Stefan Roger. The 2026 NHL offseason seems to be taking a bit of a breather from its breakneck pace to await the results of the Leo Carlsson offer sheet, which we hopefully will find out by tomorrow. But based on everything we've seen so far, we'd hazard a guess that the action isn't anywhere close to finished yet, that there are still a few blockbuster trades left to occur before we drop the puck on the 26-27 season. Will the Vancouver Canucks be involved? It's impossible to know, but the rumors continue to swirl all the same, with many of those rumors specifically swirling around the senior-most Elias Pettersson. And if you guys did not check out our recent video talking about the rumors, you guys can check that up just up above here in the card. We'll still probably put the odds of Pettersson being dealt this offseason at a little less than even. There's still a very good chance he remains in Vancouver through the 26-27 campaign, but if he does end up moving on, a new destination has come to the forefront of that discussion, that being, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins. The thinking on the Penguins' end seems to be that they're attempting a few more competitive seasons while Sidney, Crosby, and Evgeni Malkin are still around. Pettersson could help with that now, and then, of course, provide a bit of an in-between when Crosby and Malkin inevitably decide to retire. Speaking of those two, there's been plenty of talk about their potential ability to mentor Pettersson out of his current and extended slump. But the Canucks would have to be getting something out of this too. With that in mind, we thought we'd do some speculating about what a trade of Pettersson to Pittsburgh might actually look like. Of course, we kind of talked about in our previous video. We threw out already William Horkoff being somebody. But let's take a look at this. We are breaking it down into a few different sections. First up, the Cap Ballast. Normally, you wouldn't start a discussion like this with the cap dumps, but when it comes to moving a player with an $11.6 million cap hit, it just makes sense. And when we mention cap dumps, we're not talking about the Canucks. We're talking about the Penguins. Now, the Penguins have almost $17 million in cap space heading into next season, with the majority of their roster already under contract. That means that they could take on Pettersson's entire contract without having to make any cuts first. They could, but they probably wouldn't want to do that. The Canucks might also have a tough time hitting the cap floor for 26-27 if they just dumped Pettersson's salary without taking anything back. At least a little bit of cap ballast makes sense. It's also probably a preference of the Canucks over retaining salary. Here, the Penguins will try very hard to dump Ryan Graves on the Canucks. He's a 31-year-old left-shot defenseman who split last season between the NHL and the AHL, but who is signed for 3 more years at a cap hit of $4.5 million. He is someone the Canucks should have next to zero interest in. This newest front office has made a point of only bringing in veterans on short-term contracts. They've already got all of Zebullion, the younger Elias Pettersson, Jamie Alexiak, and Kirill Kudryavtsev vying for minutes on the left side of the blue line. Were they to acquire Graves, it'd have to be expected that he spend the majority of the year in Abbotsford. Stashing that much cap down in the minors might work for a season or two, but that's not something the Canucks need to be doing for 3 straight seasons. They should reasonably inform the Penguins that Graves is a deal breaker. The Pens would have other cap balancing options to offer. You have center Tommy Novak, who's 29 years old, makes the most sense. Not only does he offer a short-term replacement for Pettersson down the middle, but he's also only signed for this season at a cap hit of $3.5 million. That's far more the sort of flippable asset the Canucks seem to and should probably prefer right now. There's a big difference between the two. Graves is an unquestionable cap dump, pure and simple, whereas Novak could be seen to have some positive value. Still, we'd argue that it'd be better for the Canucks to accept a slightly lesser return if it meant taking back the more appropriate contract and or contracts. Let's take a look at the value pieces now. There's always plenty of debate to be had about Pettersson's true value. We mentioned in that previous video my buddy Harmondale mentioned that Canucks should not accept anything less than a first-round pick in return. Some will attest that this latest round of NHL contract signings has pushed salaries so far through the roof that Pettersson's own contract has actually gained value. Others will point to his body of work over the past couple of seasons and argue that most teams have better ways to spend that money, which is very fair. In truth, it comes down to this. The Canucks really have no reason to move Pettersson without at least some positive value coming back to them in form of future-based assets. Ryan Johnson and company have made it clear that they're comfortable keeping him if that's how it goes, and there's an argument to be made that Pettersson could rebuild some of that value himself with an improved 26-27 campaign, and I completely agree with that. I personally would like to see how he does under Manny Malhotra, and if he's the same Pettersson that we've had for the last couple of years, then yeah, maybe it's time to ship him off. But I am willing to give him a shot and a chance at, playing under Manny Malhotra. Now, in other words, the Penguins would have to make it worth their while, at least to some extent. Pittsburgh does have some interesting prospects worth considering. Their very best young pieces like Ben Kindle, who's people have been talking about as a potential return. At least that's what I've seen on social media. I think personally that's a bit of a stretch to get Ben Kindle. And if I were the Penguins, I would not be willing to part with Kindle unless you had an offer that, rocked your socks off. You also have Harrison Brunnick, or probably safely out of reach, but that still leaves names like Rutger McGroarty, Bill Zonin, and Mikhail Ilyin, each of whom projects as an NHL winger. The Pens also have two top goalie prospects in Joel Blomqvist and Sergei Murashov. They seem to prefer Murashov, so that maybe they're willing to deal Blomqvist, who the Canucks could certainly use in Abbotsford this year. Penguins also have a lot of draft picks in their cupboard. They've got their own first-round picks for the foreseeable future that we mentioned in our previous video. They've also got 7 second-rounders spread out over the next 3 drafts. Whatever is ultimately needed to close this deal, the Penguins would have it readily available. Putting an actual price tag on Pettersson is, of course, the tricky bit. An optimist might suggest that the package should still be somewhat premium one. Think Novak, a first-round pick, and one of their better prospects like McGroarty. Others would suggest that the Canucks should count themselves lucky if they walk away with Novak and 2 of those second-round picks. If we had to guess, we'd say the real answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe the Canucks could get a first or a top prospect for Pettersson, but probably not both. Maybe they'll have to supplement their return by flipping Novak at the deadline and getting another second or third-round pick back for him. Of course, in our previous video, we did mention, Horkov. That is not mentioned in this article, but he is also maybe somebody. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. The pieces are in place here if both Vancouver and Pittsburgh want to make something happen, but there's enough discrepancy and mystery involved that making actual predictions is actually difficult. In the immortal words of most NHL insiders, this Pettersson to Pittsburgh idea might happen, or it might not, and you can quote us on that. So there is a new update on Elias Pettersson trade rumors, and that is the potential packages that the Canucks could receive in return from Pittsburgh. But I want to know from you guys, the fans. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about potential packages? Do you guys like the idea of Tommy Novak being a part of a package, or one of the Penguins' top prospects like McGroarty, maybe even Horkov? Obviously, as I mentioned, I do believe that Ben Kindle is out of reach. Canucks have no chance of getting him, or Brunnick at all. Let me know if you think otherwise. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And of course, as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this breakdown, on your way out, you can like the video and subscribe to The Line Change for more Canucks, NHL, and off-season related content. You can also become a member of The Line Change by smashing that join button. And now a quick and important message from our friends over at DraftKings. It all came down to it, a best-of-6 battle that saw the Carolina Hurricanes emerge as the Stanley Cup champions. Now as we enter the offseason, DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, that text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.
Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next